Well, as the summer winds down around our studio gardens, it's really a time for new beginnings for fall gardening, and that's what we want to look at today. Right down here is a green that you might not have thought of growing before. It's ornamental amaranth that is also edible. Take a look at how the foliage is a beautiful deep green and red. It's growing up beautifully, making a new fall border for our edible landscape here, and I think it's going to be a pretty tasty salad green for winter. Looks like it's doing real well. Of course, it won't last all the way through the winter because it's fairly heat loving, but it's fast growing and it'll do well for fall. Right here we have some carrots that we sowed in mid-July. They're coming along real well. We need to thin them, but they're filling in very nicely behind our alyssum. Now behind me here are our ornamental peppers. These are real hot chili peppers, but they do have beautiful foliage and they've worked out well in our edible landscape. The ones behind me have deep green foliage, while these right here have variegated leaves and purple flowers. They're just gorgeous, have sort of a marbled appearance. I think they look really nice with this purple alyssum as well. Well, on over here we have some beans. We always recommend that people plant bush beans for fall. There's really not time for pole beans to mature, but you do have time for some bush beans, especially if you're in southern Oklahoma. Now we've planted these fairly close together, but I'm not going to worry about thinning them. They can take a little bit of crowding. We have had some early season insect damage, but Steve is on top of that. He's been dusting them with a little bit of sabadilla dust, but I want to remind you that once your beans get fairly mature, they can take a loss of a third to a half of their foliage and still make a crop, so you don't always have to dust those with pesticides. Well, follow me on over to the raised bed garden. We have some cauliflower to plant and also some winter greens. Well, what would fall gardening be like without planting some cauliflower? We tell a lot of home gardeners that that's the best time to grow cauliflower in Oklahoma. Usually in spring we don't have a long enough season of cool weather to get a nice, tight, good-looking curd. And this variety is Orange Bouquet. The curds of it are going to be sort of a buttery golden orange, and I think that's going to look really nice. A lot of you like to put cheese on your cauliflower, but if you're trying to cut fat from your diet, you won't feel so inclined to do that if the curds are already a nice orange color. And with planting cauliflower, make sure you get healthy transplants, and watch out when you're at the nursery. Check the labels and make sure that you do indeed have cauliflower. And one way to tell the difference in cauliflower and cabbage is that cauliflower has a longer leaf. It's more of a deep blue-green, and it doesn't have very many serrations around it, whereas a cabbage leaf will be quite rounded. Well, with this cauliflower, if you've had trouble with cutworms, of course, just want to remind you, make sure that you put little collars around them. Thankfully, we're in a raised bed that has pretty good, healthy soil. In fact, we had a heavy rain last night, but we're still able to plant. And of course, that's one of the benefits of having a raised bed like this one. Well, some other things that we'll be putting in the garden later on today are some of our fall greens. I just want to point out a couple of these to you. Of course, we've got collard greens, and again, this is an ideal time for both collard and turnip greens in the garden for some wonderful fall and winter greens. And then lettuce. We still have time to sow seed. This is black-seeded Simpson variety, but there are many varieties of lettuce that you can plant. You might remember last year on Oklahoma Gardening, we had a whole trial of different types, very colorful in the garden. And then here's something new we're trying. Out in the garden, you might have been growing purslane in hanging baskets, and we have it looking beautiful in an abundant pink variety in our garden. But this is an edible variety of purslane called Purslane Goldgelber, and it will give us a high vitamin C content for greens in the winter garden, and I think is going to do really well, so we're excited about that. Well, I hope that you renew your enthusiasm for gardening as the season cools off, clear off a space, and plant at least a few winter greens and other fall and winter vegetables.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.